You know that moment when a woman gives you that look and you have absolutely no idea what you did wrong? Yeah, that look. Well, turns out there are 5 incredibly simple things you probably did today that triggered it. The funny part is you think you're being completely normal, maybe even helpful, while she's mentally writing your obituary. Here's the thing though. Once you know what these 5 behaviors are, you'll start noticing them everywhere. Other guys will be doing them left and right while you're sitting there like some kind of relationship genius who cracked the code. Pretty good deal if you ask me. Let's jump right into number 1, and this one is going to sting a little bit because I guarantee you've done this within the last week. Number 1. The conversation hijack. Picture the scene. A woman starts telling you about her day, maybe something that happened at work or a problem she's dealing with. She's 3 sentences in, and boom, suddenly you're talking about your own similar experience or jumping straight into solution mode. Sound familiar? Yeah, I thought so. Here's what's happening in her brain when you do this. She's not looking for you to relate everything back to your own life or immediately fix her problems. What she's actually doing is testing whether you can hold space for her thoughts and emotions without making it about you. It's like a psychological trust exercise, and when you hijack the conversation, you're essentially failing that test. My friend Sarah told me about this guy she was dating who seemed perfect on paper. Good job, decent looking, shared interests. But every single time she tried to share something with him, he would either one-up her story or start problem solving before she even finished talking. She said it felt like he was more interested in hearing himself talk than actually listening to her. That relationship lasted exactly 3 weeks. The crazy thing is, this guy probably thought he was being helpful and engaged. But what he was actually doing was sending the message that her thoughts and feelings weren't as important as his immediate reactions. Women pick up on this stuff like bloodhounds. Here's what you should do instead. When a woman is sharing something with you, your first job is to simply listen. Not to formulate your response, not to think about your own similar experience, just listen. Ask follow-up questions that show you're engaged with what she's actually saying. Something like, how did that make you feel? Or what happened next? Once she's completely finished and you can tell she's processed whatever she needed to share, then you can offer your perspective or advice if she asks for it. This simple shift will make you stand out immediately because most guys can't resist the urge to jump in and take over. When you show that you can genuinely listen without making everything about yourself, you're demonstrating a level of emotional intelligence that is honestly rare. Number 2. The assumption game. This one drives women absolutely insane, and it happens everywhere. Restaurants, stores, social situations, you name it. A guy will make assumptions about what a woman wants, needs, or is thinking without actually asking her. And then, here's the kicker, he'll act on those assumptions like they're facts. Let me paint you a picture. You're at dinner with a woman, and she's looking at the menu. Without asking, you decide she probably wants something light, so you suggest the salad. Or maybe you assume she wants you to order for her because you think it's gentlemanly. Or worse, you assume she can't handle spicy food, so you warn the waiter to make sure her dish isn't too hot. Every single one of these scenarios is making assumptions about her preferences, capabilities, or desires based on absolutely nothing except your own preconceived notions. And women notice this stuff immediately. Here's the psychological principle at play. When you make assumptions about someone, you're essentially telling them that you think you know them better than they know themselves. It's a subtle form of invalidation that hits women particularly hard because society already does this to them constantly. When you pile on with your own assumptions, it feels suffocating. I remember this story my friend Lisa told me about a guy who assumed she couldn't parallel park well because, women and parking, right? So every time they went somewhere together, he would insist on driving or would try to coach her through parking spots. She's been driving for 15 years and parks better than most people I know, but this guy couldn't see past his own assumptions long enough to actually observe her skills. The fix for this is almost embarrassingly simple. Ask instead of assuming. Instead of suggesting what she should order, ask her what she's in the mood for. Instead of assuming she needs help with something, ask if she wants assistance. Instead of thinking you know what she's thinking, ask her what's on her mind. This does two powerful things. First, it shows that you respect her autonomy and intelligence enough to let her make her own choices. Second, it demonstrates that you're interested in getting to know the real her, not just interacting with some generic woman-shaped idea in your head. Number 3, the selective hearing syndrome. Oh boy, this one is a doozy, and every woman has experienced it multiple times. Selective hearing syndrome is when a guy tunes out during conversations, especially when the topic doesn't immediately interest him, but then expects to be fully caught up on everything important later. Here's how it typically plays out. A woman will be talking about something that matters to her, maybe work drama, family stuff, or plans for the weekend. The guy will be physically present, but mentally checked out, maybe scrolling through his phone or watching TV. Then later, when the topic comes up again, he'll ask questions about basic details she already covered, or worse, he'll act confused about why something is important to her. The infuriating part for women isn't just that you weren't listening. It's that you think you can pick and choose which parts of her life deserve your attention. It sends the message that unless something directly impacts you or immediately entertains you, it's not worth your mental energy. One of my friends described it perfectly. She said it's like being in a relationship with someone who treats you like a Netflix show they're half watching while doing other things. They catch the exciting parts but miss all the character development and emotional nuance that makes the story actually meaningful. Here's the psychological damage this causes. When you consistently tune out during conversations, you're training her to believe that her thoughts and experiences don't hold value in your world. Over time, she'll start sharing less with you, not because she doesn't want to connect, but because she's learned that you're not a reliable audience for her inner world. The solution requires a bit of discipline, but it's incredibly effective. When a woman is talking to you, especially about something that clearly matters to her, put down your phone, turn off the TV, and give her your full attention. If it's genuinely not a good time for a deep conversation, be honest about that and suggest a better time to talk. But here's the secret sauce. Don't just listen to respond or listen to get through the conversation. Listen to understand her perspective and emotional experience. Ask questions that show you're engaged with the emotional content of what she's sharing, not just the surface-level facts. When you do this consistently, something magical happens. She starts sharing more of herself with you because she learns that you're someone who actually cares about her inner world. And that level of emotional intimacy is what separates good relationships from great ones. Number 4, the comparison trap. This one is absolutely brutal, and most guys don't even realize they're doing it. The comparison trap is when you make comments about other women in ways that either directly or indirectly compare them to the woman you're with. And before you say you would never do that, let me give you some examples that might sound familiar. Comments like, "My ex used to love action movies," when she mentions preferring romantic comedies. Or, "My friend's girlfriend always dresses up when they go out when you're heading to dinner." Or even seemingly innocent observations like, "That woman has really great style," while you're walking down the street together. Every single one of these comments is creating a comparison in her mind, and here's what's happening psychologically. When you mention other women in contexts that could be interpreted as comparative, you're introducing doubt about whether she measures up to your standards or preferences. The really insidious part is that these comparisons don't even have to be negative to be damaging. Even positive comments about other women can make her wonder if you're satisfied with her or if you're keeping mental scorecards about how she stacks up against your ex-girlfriends or random women you encounter. My friend Rachel told me about a guy who constantly made observations about other women's appearances, not in a creepy way, but just casual comments like, "She has pretty eyes," or "That's a nice dress." He probably thought he was just making conversation, but what Rachel heard was a running commentary on female attractiveness that made her constantly wonder what he was thinking about her appearance. Here's the thing that guys often miss. Women are already bombarded with messages about how they should look, act, and behave. Social media, magazines, Movies, advertising, it's all constantly showing them examples of other women to compare themselves to. When you add your own comparisons to that mix, even unintentionally, you're piling onto something that's already overwhelming. The fix for this is about becoming more aware of how your comments might be interpreted. Before you mention another woman, especially an ex or someone you find attractive, ask yourself if that comment serves any positive purpose in your current interaction. If you're trying to make a point, find a way to make it without bringing up other women as reference points. Focus your attention and comments on the woman you're actually with. Instead of mentioning how your ex did something differently, ask about her preferences and experiences. Instead of commenting on other women's appearances, tell her specifically what you appreciate about her. Number 5. The emotional shortcut. This last one might be the most damaging because it happens in moments when women are most vulnerable. The emotional shortcut is when a guy tries to rush through or minimize a woman's emotional process because it feels uncomfortable or inconvenient. Here's what this looks like in real life. A woman is upset about something. Maybe she's had a bad day or she's processing something difficult. Instead of allowing her to work through those emotions naturally, the guy jumps straight to trying to fix the problem or make her feel better as quickly as possible. Comments like, "Don't worry about it," "It's not that big of a deal," or "You're overthinking this" are all examples of emotional shortcuts. The guy thinks he's being helpful by trying to solve the problem or change her emotional state, but what he's actually doing is invalidating her emotional experience. The psychological principle here is crucial to understand. When someone is experiencing strong emotions, those emotions need to be acknowledged and processed before they can naturally resolve. When you try to shortcut that process, you're essentially telling her that her emotional experience is wrong or inconvenient. I watched this happen with a couple I know. She was stressed about a work situation and needed to talk through her feelings about it. Instead of listening and validating her experience, he kept interrupting with suggestions about how to fix the problem or reassurances that everything would be fine. She ended up more frustrated than when she started because she felt like he was dismissing her emotions rather than supporting her through them. Here's what makes this particularly damaging for women. Society often teaches women that their emotions are too much, too dramatic, or too complicated. When the man in her life reinforces that message by trying to rush through her emotional experiences, it confirms some of her deepest fears about being accepted for who she really is. The alternative approach requires patience, but it's incredibly powerful. When a woman is experiencing strong emotions, your job isn't to fix her or change how she feels. Your job is to create a safe space where she can process those emotions without judgment. Listen without trying to solve. Validate her feelings by acknowledging that her emotional response makes sense given her experience. Ask questions that help her work through her thoughts rather than jumping to conclusions or solutions. Something magical happens when you do this consistently. She learns that she can be emotionally authentic with you without being judged, rushed, or fixed. That level of emotional safety is incredibly rare and valuable in relationships. Here's the counterintuitive truth that ties all of these together. Most guys think that being helpful, efficient, and solution-oriented is what women want. But what women actually crave is being seen, heard, and understood as complete human beings with their own thoughts, feelings, and capabilities. When you stop hijacking conversations, making assumptions, tuning out, creating comparisons, and rushing through emotions, you're not just avoiding behaviors that drive women crazy. You're demonstrating a level of emotional intelligence and respect that most women rarely experience. The guys who understand this stand out immediately because they're not trying to manage, fix, or improve the women in their lives. They're simply creating space for those women to be authentically themselves. And that, my friends, is absolutely irresistible. The next time you're interacting with a woman, whether it's someone you're dating, a friend, or even a colleague, pay attention to these 5 patterns. Notice when you feel the urge to jump in with your own story, make assumptions about what she wants, tune out because the topic doesn't immediately interest you, bring up comparisons to other women, or try to fast track through her emotional experience. Catching yourself in these moments and choosing a different approach will transform your relationships with women in ways you probably can't even imagine right now. If you liked this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more such videos. Thanks for watching.